Today, in the house, poor Jenny has got a leak downstairs, so Scott has popped round to have a look and see if he can fix it.
Good afternoon and welcome to Free at 3 with me, Scott Keenan from Keenan Able Property Services. Today we're in Windermere and we're here to have a look at Jenny's leak in her downstairs loo. Come with me. Let's go through the keyhole. So Jenny, what seems to be the problem?
Well, on a number of occasions I've come into the toilet and I've found wet on the top of the cylinder here, and there seemed to be no explanation for it, and I began to worry in case it was the boiler actually leaking. But after a day or two it would dry up and nothing else would appear for quite a long time, and it's only happened on about 3 occasions. But what I began to realise, it seemed to coincide with heavy rainfall and wind from a certain direction, and so I wondered whether there's something coming in from outside. Worries me because of the electricity in the boiler, so if there's something could be checked out, I'd appreciate it.
How long ago did you first notice it?
It was a couple of weeks ago. Was the last time that it happened. I tried switching the boiler on and it didn't make any difference, and it just dried up.
Okay, I'll just come in and have a quick look. Okay, so I can see the little puddle of water down here, and there's some drip lines coming down the tile, and there's some rusty marks just here. But underneath the boiler, there doesn't seem to be any drips on any of the pipes. Let's have a look above. Okay, there's some staining just at the bottom of the flue pipe. It's on top of the boiler. So I think perhaps we should have a look outside and just see how the flue goes through the wall and how that's finished off. Let's go back outside. Careful ladders. Most accidents in the building site happen around a ladder, so fingers crossed. So I'm just going to remove this outer sleeve. You can see already that we've got a loose stone here above the flue, and there's some loose mortar around to the side. Alright, so we'll take off this rubber seal. And this stone is loose above. Aha. So it could be when the wind and the rain is coming from a certain direction that it's getting in here, running down the top of the flue pipe, and then appearing behind the boiler and just running down. So this is all loose. So I think what we'll do is we'll point this up with some fresh mortar, put the stone back in place. Okay, I think we're going to get some materials, we'll mix up some mortar and put this back together again. Okay, we're all set up now, got our materials ready to do the job, PPE and the tools. We'll go through those in a minute. Up on the wall I've got an old sheet to protect the stonework. You don't have any skid marks from the mortar running down there. Come on in, let's see what we've got. So to make up our mortar we are using some rendering sand, which is very fine, doesn't have many stones in it at all, which would lock up the mortar gun. We have what's called grano, which is basically some slate dust. Then we've got some powdered cement, and we've got some lime. Now, there's various different types of lime. This is hydrated lime, and in this exercise it's just going to be used as a plasticizer to help keep the aggregates fluid, and I'll show you when we're using the pointing gun that the lime is going to help keep it elastic and squidging out. The tools we're using, first of all, PPE. I've got some heavy duty rubber gloves because both the cement powder and the lime are corrosive in your hands. I've got a dust mask when mixing the mortar to stop breathing the particles from the cement and the lime. I'm going to show two methods. One is just an old-fashioned way of pointing it using a series of trowels and a hawk to squidge the mortar in place. And then I'm going to show you how to use a mortar gun, which will speed the process up. These are about £25, available from Screwfix, any of the builders merchants. And you put your mortar in there, and then you use it like a silicone gun, and it's really good for pumping it into deep holes. Our mixing ratio is going to be quite weak for the stone wall. It's important that the mortar is weaker than the stone. If it's the other way round, when you get a frost, the stone is going to split as the mortar hasn't got any flexibility. So we're going to use 3 parts sand, 3 parts of this grano dust, 1 part cement and 1 part lime. So I'll get my PPE on and we'll make the mix. So adding a small amount of water at the time, because you can always add more water, but you can't take the water out if you've added too much. So we're going to start off doing a traditional method with a hawk and a trowel. And for that, the consistency, if I can keep it on the trowel, wants to have a little bit of thickness about it. When we use the pointing gun, we're going to have to water it down a bit because that does need to be quite fluid. So this is where we start. We're going to sweep out the loose dust particles so that the fresh mortar can have a good bond on the stone. Then I'm going to bring up some mortar on a hawk, and I'm going to push it into the gaps using the trowel. You can see that process. It's really important that you cover up the stonework below, because once the mortar runs down the face of the wall, it's difficult to keep the stain off. You've got to wash it off straight away. We'll start off by cleaning it out, and then we'll fill the hole. You may notice I've got the stones sloping slightly down. This is really important. As the rain comes out the building, it can run off. If they're tilted back that way, the rain will be going into the wall. And also, I've kept the mortar set back so it isn't predominant. The way that this wall has been constructed is that you can't see any of the mortar, so we're trying to emulate that. I'm going to switch now to the pointing gun, and I'll just demonstrate using that so that we can get the mortar really deep into the hole. Just going to add a little bit more water to the mortar because we're going to use the pointing gun, and if it's too thick it won't push through the end of the nozzle. So I'm going to use the trowel and fill up the tube. I'm just going to finish it off with a trowel just to push it into place, make it pretty, and that should do it. That should keep the weather out. Okay, once that's dried, the final piece is to put this back on again. So that's it for today. Join us next week for another 3 at 3. If you have any projects that you'd like us to look at for 3 at 3, please get in touch with us via the Facebook. See you.
Problem solved, and some excellent top tips from our Scott. How magic is that? You decide.